Oh, you think you could just waltz in here with that store-bought pie and call it a day? Marjorie's voice sliced through the kitchen like a butcher's knife through soft butter. Her silver curls bobbed as she leaned over the counter, glaring at the trembling cherry pie in Emily's hands. The air smelled of cinnamon and tension, thick as a fog rolling off the bay. Emily, all wide eyes and shaky fingers, clutched the pie tin tighter. I, I thought it'd save time, Marjorie. You're always saying how busy you are, and I just wanted to help. Marjorie barked, her laugh sharp enough to crack glass. Sweetheart, that's not help. That's an insult. You think I'd serve my family something from a grocery aisle? Look at it. Sad little cherries drowning in that syrupy muck. My Daniel deserves better than your lazy shortcuts. The kitchen door swung open, and Daniel ambled in, his flannel shirt wrinkled from a long day at the hardware store. 6 feet of quiet patience. He had a habit of rubbing his stubbled chin when trouble brewed. Ma, what's all the hollering about now? Smells like a bakery in here. Can't be that bad. Marjorie spun on him, her floral apron flapping like a battle flag. Don't you dare defend her, Daniel. This girl you married thinks she can replace my cooking with some factory slop. 40 years I've fed this family, and now she's tossing my legacy out like yesterday's scraps. Emily's cheeks flushed red as the pie filling. She set the tin down with a clatter, her voice rising despite herself. I wasn't trying to replace anything. I just thought, oh, forget it. You twist everything I do into some big crime. Why can't you just say thank you for once? Thank you. Marjorie's eyes narrowed to slits, her words dripping venom. For what? For making me look like a fool in my own house. You wouldn't know a rolling pin from a baseball bat. Daniel stepped between them, hands up like a referee in a ring. Enough, both of you. Ma, she's trying. Emily, just let her cool off. Can't we have one Sunday without a war breaking out? The room fell silent, save for the tick-tick of the old wall clock, a relic from Marjorie's mother, who'd ruled this kitchen with an iron fist and a wooden spoon. Marjorie straightened, brushing invisible crumbs off her apron. Her lips pursed, but her eyes glinted with something darker, something that had festered since the day Daniel brought Emily home 3 years ago, a bright-eyed bride with dreams of fitting in. Emily turned away, blinking hard. She wasn't a crier, never had been, but Marjorie had a way of peeling back her skin layer by layer. She'd grown up in a trailer park, scraping by with a single mom who worked double shifts. Cooking wasn't her forte, survival was. She learned to dodge fists, not knead dough. But she loved Daniel, loved his steady hands, his soft morning over coffee, and she'd vowed to make this work. Even if his mother was a hurricane in a housecoat. Fine, Emily muttered, grabbing her coat from the hook. I'll be outside. Let me know when Her Majesty's ready to eat. Marjorie snorted, already rummaging for her cast-iron skillet. Go on, then. Run off like you always do. Leave the real work to me. Daniel sighed, watching Emily stomp out into the crisp October air. The screen door slammed, a gunshot in the quiet. He turned to his mother, voice low. Ma, why do you gotta push her like that? She's not the enemy. Marjorie didn't look up, just cracked an egg into a bowl with a flick of her wrist. She's not family, Daniel. Not the way we are. She doesn't understand us. Never will. You mark my words, that girl's trouble wrapped in a pretty bow. Outside, Emily kicked at the gravel drive, her breath puffing in little clouds. The oak trees loomed overhead, their leaves a riot of red and gold. Beautiful, but dying all the same. She hated this house sometimes, with its creaky floors and Marjorie's shadow in every corner. She tried, Lord, had she tried, to win the woman over. Homemade jam that turned to sludge, a sweater she'd knitted that unraveled in a week. Nothing was ever good enough. The crunch of boots made her turn. Daniel, hands in his pockets, gave her that crooked smile that always softened her edges. She's a bear today, huh? More like a dragon, Emily said, half laughing, half exasperated. Does she hate me that much, Dan? Or is it just fun for her? He shrugged, kicking a pebble. She's scared, I think. Scared of losing me. Been just us two since Dad passed. 15 years now. You knew. She doesn't know where you fit. Emily crossed her arms, the chill seeping through her coat. So, I'm a villain? Great. What's next? She'll poison my tea. Daniel chuckled, pulling her close. Nah, she'd never waste good tea. Look, give her time. She'll come around. Weeks rolled by, and Marjorie's barbs didn't dull. Those curtains look like a circus tent, she'd snap. Or you call that a roast. My cat could do better. Emily gritted her teeth, kept her head down. But something shifted in her, a spark, a stubborn glow. She started watching cooking shows late at night, Flour dusting her pajamas as she practiced biscuits, gravy, pie crust that didn't crumble like wet sand. One Sunday, she marched into Marjorie's kitchen, apron tied tight, a homemade apple pie in her hands. The crust was golden, crimped just so, the filling spiced with nutmeg and a whisper of clove. Marjorie froze mid-stir, her wooden spoon hovering over a pot of stew. "What's this now?" she demanded, eyeing the pie like it might bite. Emily set it on the counter, chin up. "It's for dinner. Made it myself, no store-bought shortcuts. Go on, try it. Tell me it's awful. I dare you." Marjorie's mouth twitched, almost a smirk. She grabbed a knife, sliced into the pie with surgical precision. Steam curled up, fragrant and warm. She took a bite, chewed slow, and said nothing. For once, the kitchen was quiet. Daniel poked his head in, grinning. "Well, we got a truce yet?" Marjorie swallowed, set the knife down. "It's passable," she grumbled, but her eyes softened. "Just a flicker. Needs more cinnamon." Emily laughed, a real laugh, bright as the sun breaking through storm clouds. "I'll take that. Next time, you show me how." Marjorie raised an eyebrow, but there was a spark there too, grudging, maybe, but real. "Next time? We'll see." And just like that, the air shifted. Not peace, not yet, but a crack in the wall, wide enough for light to slip through. "More coffee, Ma?" Daniel asked, tipping the pot toward Marjorie's chipped mug, the one she'd kept since '78, with its faded daisies. She waved a hand, her silver rings glinting. "Just a splash. Don't drown it." "So, Emily, you gonna tell me where you learned to bake overnight? Or was that pie a fluke?" Emily smirked, stirring sugar into her own cup. "No fluke. Been up late watching those cooking shows. You know, the ones you call screaming nonsense? Turns out they're not half bad. Took me 3 tries to get that crust right. First one looked like a pancake someone sat on." Marjorie snorted, almost a laugh. "Should have seen me at your age. Burned my first roast so bad. Your granddad, God rest him, said it'd make a fine doorstop. Took me years to figure out a kitchen. Didn't have no fancy TV to help." Daniel leaned back, grinning. "Yeah, but you had Gran breathing down your neck, Ma. She was a terror. Remember how she'd whack your knuckles with that spoon if you forgot the salt?" "Don't remind me." Marjorie's voice sharpened, but her eyes crinkled. "That woman was a tyrant. Raised me on a farm, 5 kids, no electricity half the time. I was churning butter by 6, cooking for 10 by 12. When I married your dad, I swore I'd make a home worth a damn. No sorcuts, no excuses." Emily tilted her head, curious despite herself. "Sounds rough. My mom, she wasn't big on cooking. Worked doubles at the diner. So I grew up on frozen pizzas and whatever I could microwave. Dreamed of a real family dinner, you know? Tablecloths, laughter, the whole picture." Daniel reached for her hand, his thumb brushing her knuckles. "You got that now, Em. Well, minus Ma's griping." "Watch it, boy," Marjorie snapped, but there was no real bite in it. After your dad died, it was us, Dan. You and me. Built this life from scratch, kept the store running, kept the house standing. Then you bring her in, all bright and shiny, and I think, what'd she know about us? About hard times?" Emily's jaw tightened, but she kept her tone light. "Not much, I'll give you that. Grew up in a trailer park. Leaky roof, drunk stepdad who liked to throw punches. Learned to duck fast, not cook fast. Wanted out, wanted better. Met Dan at that gas station, spilling coffee all over myself, and he just laughed. Said, 'You're a mess, but I like it.'" Daniel chuckled, rubbing his chin. "True story. I was hooked. Took me 6 months to convince her I wasn't some creep. Always wanted a family too, Ma. Someone to come home to. Dad was gone. You were tough as nails, needed a little soft in my life." Marjorie sipped her coffee, eyes distant. Soft's fine, till it breaks you. I wanted you safe, Dan. Someone who'd stick, not run when it got rough. Took me time to see she's not running. Emily met her gaze, steady, not planning to. I'm here for him. And yeah, maybe for you too, if you'll quit sharpening your claws on me. A beat passed. Marjorie set her mug down, slow. Claws, huh? Fair enough. Guess I've been scrapping too long to know when to stop. Daniel grinned, breaking the quiet. So, what's the next lesson, Ma? Biscuits? Gravy? M's on a roll. Marjorie arched a brow, a flicker of mischief there. Gravy. Let's see if she can handle a whisk without crying. Emily laughed, sharp and bright. Bring it on. The next Sunday rolled around, and the kitchen buzzed with a fragile truce. Flour dusted the counter like snow on a battlefield, and the scent of simmering gravy hung heavy. Emily gripped a whisk, her knuckles white, while Marjorie hovered like a hawk, her arms crossed over that floral apron. Stir it faster, girl. Marjorie barked, peering into the pot. You want lumps? Keep dawdling, and we'll be chewing this gravy instead of sipping it. Emily's jaw clenched, but she sped up, the whisk clanging against the pot. I'm trying, Marjorie. It's not like I'm whipping air here. It's thick as mud already. Daniel lounged against the doorframe, sipping coffee, a grin tugging at his lips. Looks like progress to me. No one's yelling much. Yet, Marjorie muttered, snatching a spoon to taste the gravy. She smacked her lips, paused, then nodded. Not bad. Need salt, but not bad. Emily's eyes widened, a laugh bubbling up. Wait, was that a compliment? Dan, get the calendar. Mark this day. Before Daniel could reply, the phone rang, a shrill trill cutting through the moment. He grabbed it off the wall, his easy grin fading fast. Yeah? Who's this? What? Slow down. When did this happen? Marjorie turned, spoon still in hand. Who's that, Dan? Don't tell me it's that fool Jimmy from the store again. He's always breaking something. Daniel waved her off, his face tightening. No, Ma. It's the hospital. It's Aunt Clara. She's had a stroke. They found her this morning. The room froze. Emily dropped the whisk, gravy splattering the counter. Marjorie's spoon clattered to the floor, her voice cracking. Clara? My Clara? She was fine last week, yammering about her roses like always. What do you mean a stroke? Daniel rubbed his neck, the phone still pressed to his ear. She's stable, but it's bad. They're not sure she'll, you know. They want us there. Now. Marjorie's hand shook as she untied her apron, her usual steel crumbling. That's my baby sister, Dan. Only family I've got left, besides you. We're going. Get the keys. Emily stepped forward, hesitant. I'll come too. I can help drive, get coffee, whatever you need. Marjorie spun on her, eyes wild. You? No, this is family, Emily. Real family. You stay here, mind the house. We don't need extras. The word hit like a slap. Emily flinched, her voice low. Extras? I'm his wife, Marjorie. I'm not some stray you can shoo off the porch. Daniel stepped between them, sharp this time. Ma, stop it. She's coming. Clara's her aunt too now, whether you like it or not. We don't have time for this. Marjorie's mouth opened, then shut. She grabbed her purse, muttering fine. But don't expect me to hold your hand. The hospital was a blur of white walls and antiseptic sting. Clara, 62, wiry, with a smoker's rasp, lay frail in the bed, tubes snaking from her arms. Marjorie sank into a chair beside her, whispering, You stubborn old goat, you'd better not leave me. Who's going to argue with me over pie crusts? Emily lingered by the door, twisting her scarf in her hands. Daniel nudged her. Go on, say something. She's not all prickles, you know. Taking a breath, Emily approached, voice soft. Hey, Aunt Clara, it's Emily. Never got to tell you, but that jam you sent last summer? Best I ever had. You hang in there, okay? Clara's eyes fluttered, a weak grunt escaping her lips. Marjorie glanced up, surprised. She sent you jam? She never told me that. Emily shrugged a small smile. Guess she liked me more than you thought. Before Marjorie could snap back, a doctor strode in, young, clipboard in hand. Mrs. Hargrove? I am Dr. Petel. Your sister's stable, But there's something else. We found a letter in her purse, addressed to you. Said to open it if anything happened. Marjorie frowned, taking the envelope. Her fingers tore it open, and her breath hitched as she read aloud. Marjorie, if you're reading this, I'm either dead or close. Stop being a mule and let Emily in. She's good for Dan, better than you give her credit for. P.S. My rose bushes are yours now. Don't kill him. Silence fell, heavy as a quilt. Marjorie's hands trembled, the paper crinkling. That meddling fool always sticking her nose in. Emily blinked, stunned. She wrote that? For me. Daniel squeezed her shoulder, voice low. Told you, Em. Your family. Even Clara saw it. Marjorie stared at the letter, then at Emily, her voice cracking. She's right, isn't she? I've been a damn mule. But don't think this means I'm going soft. Those roses'll die over my dead body. Emily laughed, shaky but real. Deal. I'll help. Might even learn something. The hospital room hummed with the soft beep of machines, a fragile lifeline tethering Clara to the world. Outside, dusk painted the sky in bruised purples and oranges, a sunset bleeding through the blinds. Marjorie stood by the bed, her gnarled hands clutching Clara's limp fingers, while Emily hovered near the window, her shadow stretching long and thin. Daniel paced, his boots scuffing the linoleum, a restless metronome in the stillness. She's got to wake up, Marjorie muttered, her voice a raw scrape. She's too damn ornery to quit on me now. Who's going to tell me I'm wrong if she's gone? Emily turned, her scarf still twisted tight in her fists. She's fighting Marjorie. You heard the doctor, stable something. She's got your grit. Marjorie's head snapped up, eyes flashing like stormlit steel. My grit? Don't you butter me up, girl. This isn't some cooking lesson. This is my sister. You think you know her 'cause she sent you a jar of jam? The air crackled, a fuse lit and hissing. Emily stepped closer, her voice rising, sharp as a blade. I'm not pretending anything. I'm here, aren't I? Standing in this room, trying, for Dan, for you, for her. Why is it never enough? Daniel stopped pacing, his hands balling into fists. Ma, ain't kuchi ichiauchi. Clara's hanging on by a thread, and you're tearing into each other like cats in a sack. But Marjorie wasn't listening. She surged to her feet, the letter from Clara crumpling in her grip as she thrust it toward Emily. You want to know why? 'Cause this scribbled nonsense says I should let you in. Let you in where? Into my family? My pain? You think you can just waltz into 40 years of me and Clara, sisters through floods, funerals, fights, and belong? Emily's eyes blazed, tears glinting like shards of glass. I'm not waltzing anywhere. I'm clawing my way in, past your barbs, your sneers, your damn pie crusts. I didn't ask for Clara to write that, but she did, 'cause maybe, just maybe, she saw I'm not the enemy. The room trembled with their words, a storm breaking loose. Marjorie's face twisted, grief, rage, a lifetime of holding tight spilling out. You don't get it, do you? Clara's all I've got left of me. The me before Dan, before his dad, before this house ate my dreams. And now she's slipping, and you're standing there like you can fix it. I can't fix it, Emily shouted, her voice cracking like ice underfoot. I can't fix her, or you, or anything. But I'm here, shaking, scared, trying to love this messed up family anyway. Isn't that enough? A sob tore from Marjorie's throat, raw and jagged, and she sank back into the chair, the letter fluttering to the floor. Enough? Nothing's enough when she's fading, my little Clara. Daniel dropped to his knees beside her, his voice thick. Ma, she's still here. And Em's right. She's fighting to stay. We all are. Don't push us out now. The beeping stuttered, a hiccup in the rhythm, and all three froze, eyes darting to Clara. Her chest rose, fell, rose again. Then a rasp, faint as a whisper on wind. Quit, you're yammering. Marjorie gasped, leaning close, her hands trembling over Clara's. Clara, you hear me? You're awake. Oh, thank God, you're awake. Clara's eyes cracked open, bleary but fierce. Barely, you old hen. Stop yelling at the girl. She's family. Emily choked on a laugh, tears spilling hot down her cheeks. Told you, Marjorie. She's on my side. Marjorie's face crumpled, laughter and sobs tangling together, a dam bursting. You little witch, both of you, ganging up on me, in a hospital, no less. Daniel grinned, wiping his eyes with his sleeve. That's our Clara. Tough as nails. Even half dead, she's bossing us around. Clara's lips twitched, a ghost of smirk. Someone has to. Now shut up. Need sleep. The tension shattered, a prism of relief scattering light through the room. Marjorie squeezed Clara's hand, her voice soft as a prayer. Rest, you pest. I'll be here. We all will. Emily sank into a chair, her scarf unraveling in her lap, and met Marjorie's gaze, wary, worn, but unguarded for the first time. Truce, she whispered. Marjorie nodded, slow, her eyes glistening. Truce. For now. Don't get cocky. A week later, the kitchen glowed warm under the flicker of a single bulb, the air thick with the scent of sage and roasted chicken. Clara was home, propped in a wheelchair by the table, her left arm limp but her tongue still sharp. Marjorie bustled at the stove, apron streaked with gravy, while Emily sliced apples, the knife flashing like a metronome. Daniel leaned against the counter, nursing a beer, his grin soft as the dusk settling outside. Pass me that Saldum, Marjorie said, her tone gruff but lighter, like a storm cloud thinning at the edges. This bird's not going to season itself. Emily slid the shaker over, a smirk tugging her lips. Only if you say, pretty please, first. I've earned it after last week. Marjorie snorted, but her eyes crinkled. Pretty please, you little tyrant. Happy now. Ecstatic, Emily shot back, her laugh bright as a bell. Clara, you hearing this? She's gone soft. Clara wheezed a chuckle, her voice gravelly but alive. Soft? Her? Huh. She's just tired of losing. Took a stroke to knock sense into her. Marjorie spun, waving a wooden spoon like a scepter. Watch it, sister. I'll trade you for a quieter model. Em's already halfway to taking your spot. Daniel laughed, raising his beer. Careful, ma. Ain't got your number now. Pie, gravy, and Clara's vote. She's unstoppable. Emily set the knife down, her hands stilling as she met Marjorie's gaze. I don't want your spot, Marjorie. Or Clara's. Just mine. Right here. That's all I've been after. The room hushed, the clatter of pots fading to a heartbeat's pause. Marjorie's spoon dipped, her shoulders slumping. Not in defeat, but release. You've got it, girl. Took me too damn long to see it, but you've got it. This table's yours, too. Clara smirked, nudging her wheelchair closer. Told you, Marge. She's tougher than she looks. Like us. Emily's eyes shimmered, but she grinned, brushing it off. Tough enough to handle you two? That's a medal I'll wear proud. Daniel crossed the room, pulling Emily into a quick, fierce hug. You've earned more than that, Em. Ma, you gonna carve this bird? Or we eating it whole? Marjorie grabbed the carving knife, her voice steady now, warm as the oven's glow. Sit down, all of you. Let's eat, proper like family. No more scrapping. I'm too old for it. Clara cackled, weak but wicked. Liar. You'll scrap till you're dust. But I'll take the peace while it lasts. They gathered, plates clinking, laughter spilling like wine. The chicken was golden, the apples tart, the gravy smooth as silk. Marjorie passed Emily a roll, her fingers brushing hers, a quiet truce sealed in butter and crumbs. Outside, the night draped the house in velvet, but inside, the light held fast, a circle unbroken. The chicken bones lay picked clean, and the apple slices were down to a sticky pile. Clara tilted her head, her wheelchair creaking as she broke the contented hum. So what's the tally, Marge? How we get from pie fights to this? Marjorie leaned back, wiping her hands on a napkin, her voice gruff but soft-edged. Started with that sorry store-bought mess Emily brought. Thought she was spitting on my stove. On us. Took me hollering, you stroking out, and a damn letter to see she wasn't the devil in a sundress. Emily grinned, nudging Daniel. Yeah, and I went from dodging her barbs to whisking gravy under fire. Nearly walked out a dozen times, but Dan kept me tethered. Then Clara, You scared us straight, waking up to call her out. Daniel chuckled, arm around Emily. Ma was a wall, and was a battering ram, and I was stuck playing peacemaker. Clara's hospital bed turned the tide, showed us we're tougher together than apart. Clara smirked, her eyes glinting. Had almost died to glue you fools. Worth it for this chicken. Marjorie met Emily's gaze, steady and sure. Your family now, girl. Fought for it. Won it. No more tests. Emily nodded, her voice quiet but firm. Good, 'cause I'm not going anywhere.